Paris, 2026. While missiles cross the skies of Iran and the regime that expelled her begins to crumble, an 86-year-old woman follows it all from a quiet apartment in Paris. She was once the most powerful woman in the Middle East. She wore a 2-kilogram diamond crown and held the fate of 35 million people in her hands. She was the first woman crowned Empress in 2,500 years of Persian history. In 1979, when the world turned its back on the Shah, her husband, everyone fled. Generals, allies, friends. The countries that had called him a strategic partner closed their doors in silence. Only she stayed. Not out of obligation, not out of protocol, by choice. And the price she paid was the highest of all. This is the story of Farah Pahlavi, the woman who lost an empire, a husband, 2 children, and still waits at 86 to see the country she built rise again. In late 1958, the Iranian embassy in Paris held a reception. Among the guests, a 20-year-old Iranian student, cultured, passionate about art and architecture, on a scholarship at the École Spéciale d'Architecture. Her name was Farah Diba. It was the first time she had left Iran, the first time she breathed air that was entirely her own. Paris changed everything. She discovered cinema, painting, design. She studied with passion, dreamed of building structures, of contributing to her country's development. She was a young Iranian woman in the world's most cosmopolitan city, free, educated, happy. That night, someone introduced her to a man whose name was impossible not to know. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran, the King of Kings. He was 39, divorced, and carrying a problem 2 previous wives had failed to solve. Neither had given him a male heir. And then Farah Diba appeared. Young, educated, healthy. Someone who had chosen on her own terms to study architecture in Paris, completely unlike anything the court had expected. The Shah courted her. Their meetings at the embassy grew more frequent. In the autumn of 1959, he proposed. Farah would later describe in her memoirs what she felt, a mixture of astonishment, fear, responsibility, and genuine love. It was not a political transaction, though it carried enormous political implications. It was a 21-year-old woman who fell in love with a complex and powerful man. The wedding was celebrated on December 21st, 1959, at the Golestan Palace in Tehran. The dress was designed by Yves Saint Laurent, ivory silk with gold and pearl embroidery. On her head, the Nur ol Ain tiara, whose name in Persian means the light of the eyes. The photographs appeared on the covers of magazines around the world. In October 1960, 10 months after the wedding, Farah gave the Shah what 2 previous wives had not, a son. Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince. The dynasty was secure. 3 more would follow. Farah in 1963, Ali Reza in 1966, and little Layla in 1970. October 26, 1967, Golestan Palace, Tehran. The Shah is officially crowned at last, but the moment the world did not expect comes next. For the first time in 2,500 years of Persian history, the Shah removes his own crown and places it on his wife's head. Farah Diba becomes Shahbanu, Empress of Iran, the first title of that rank ever granted to a woman in the entire history of modern Islam. And with it comes something even more extraordinary. She is designated official regent of the empire should the Shah die before their son comes of age. In a Middle Eastern monarchy in the 20th century, this was a silent revolution. Farah is 29. The crown weighs over 2 kilograms, set with emeralds, rubies, and diamonds. The cameras capture the exact moment when the weight of history settles upon her. She does not blink. What Farah does with that power is what sets her apart from any royal consort in history. She does not decorate ballrooms, she builds. She creates the Tehran Museum of Contemporary Art and fills it with Warhol, Pollock, Picasso, Rothko, Francis Bacon. Works that today would be worth more than $3 billion. And here is one of the most extraordinary details in this entire story. Those works are still there, locked in a basement in Tehran for 46 years. The regime cannot exhibit them because they contradict Islam. It cannot sell them because the world would recognize them as stolen property. They are trapped, exactly like Farah, unable to return to the world for which they were created. Even the works she built ended up imprisoned. She founds film festivals. She brings Bertolucci, John Huston, Antonioni. Tehran in the 1970s has a cultural scene that Paris respects. She founds Pahlavi University, the first American model university in Iran, focused especially on expanding women's access to higher education. She visits leprosy hospitals when no one expected her to. She travels through remote villages in the northern mountains. She sits at the table with the poorest. She carries their requests directly to the Shah. She understood something the Shah, surrounded by generals and technocrats, was beginning to lose sight of. An empire cannot be sustained on oil and American weapons alone. It needs a soul. And she was building the soul of a country running too fast to know where it was going. If you've ever believed in something so deeply that you stayed, even when everyone else had already left, you already belong to Afterthrone. Subscribe. The celebration of the 2,500th anniversary of the Persian Empire at Persepolis, $300 million spent in the desert, while villages in the interior had no running water, we covered in our episode on the Shah. The link is in the pinned comment. What matters now is what that celebration revealed about the Iran Farah was watching from the inside. On one side, Tehran and the major cities. Mixed universities, unveiled women, bars, cinemas, Western music concerts. The Iran the Shah dreamed of, the one that appeared in international magazines as a symbol of modernity in the Middle East. The Iran Farah was building with every museum, every festival, every school she founded. On the other side, the invisible Iran. The merchants of the traditional bazaars, deeply tied to the mosques and the clergy. The farmers of the southern provinces. The faithful who saw the Shah's reforms not as progress, but as a silent war against everything they held sacred. The resentment was not abstract. It was visceral. And there was a voice that knew how to speak directly to that invisible Iran. Ruhollah Khomeini, exiled by the Shah in 1964, sent sermons recorded on cassette tapes, distributed clandestinely across the country. He did not promise democracy. He promised dignity. For millions left behind by rapid modernization, that promise rang truer than any economic growth statistic. Farah saw the crack. She warned. There are records of her telling the Shah that the distance between the palace and the street was growing, that the Savak's repression was building a resentment no amount of oil money could buy back, that he needed to listen more and control less. He listened, but he did not change. And here lies the specific cruelty of Farah's story. She was right. She saw what was coming before he did, and she would still pay the highest price of all. 1978. The Shah was dying of leukemia while the country collapsed around him. Farah did not sleep. In her memoirs, she would describe those weeks as the longest of her life. Endless conversations with the Shah in the early morning hours, while the sound of protests reached them muffled through the walls. Phone calls from presidents and prime ministers who were beginning to pull away. The growing sense that something irreversible was happening. And then, one by one, the allies left. Generals deserted. Heads of state stopped responding. No one stayed, except Farah. January 16th, 1979. The Shah and Farah leave Niavaran Palace for the last time. The plane lifts off over Tehran. Below, the city that had been the center of their world for decades grows smaller, then blurred, then invisible in the January clouds. Farah looks out the window until there is nothing left to see. She carries a handbag and photo albums. It is everything she takes from Iran. She is 40 years old. Leave a comment. Do you think the Shah's Iran was genuinely moving towards something better? Or was the revolution inevitable no matter what? That answer changes everything that comes next. What follows is a humiliation that few fallen leaders have endured with such intensity. Morocco, Bahamas, Mexico, the United States, which had armed him and kept him in power for decades, took months to allow him in for medical treatment. When they finally relented, the result was the hostage crisis. 52 Americans seized in Tehran for 444 days. No country wanted him near. Farah moves through all of it by his side, not as a woman who accepts passively, as someone who negotiates, advocates, cares. She helps him move, speak with doctors, maintain dignity before the few visitors who still come. In those hotel rooms and borrowed villas, stripped of protocol and court, the love that had survived thrones and revolutions reached its most truthful moment precisely when everything else had disappeared. Finally, Egypt. Anwar Sadat, the only leader with the courage to offer refuge without conditions, installs them in the Kuba Palace in Cairo. It was too late for peace. The summer of 1980 arrived in Cairo with a crushing heat. The Shah, confined to bed, could barely speak. His eyes had the distant look of someone already on their way out. Farah did not leave his side in those final weeks. She slept little, ate less, spent hours sitting beside his bed, holding his hand. July 27, 1980. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi dies in Cairo. He is 60 years old. He had reigned for 37 years and dies in exile, in a borrowed bed, in a country that is not his own. With Farah beside him. She is 41. She is a widow. She is a former empress. She is stateless, and she is alone. The exile does not end with the Shah's death. It only changes shape. Farah settles between Paris and Connecticut. She holds on to dignity as the only instrument of pressure she still possesses. Her presence, her voice, her refusal to disappear are the only weapons left to keep the cause of a free Iran alive. But exile extracts its deepest price where she was least able to defend herself, in her children. Layla Pahlavi, the youngest, born in 1970, was only 8 years old when the plane lifted off from Tehran. She grew up between countries, between identities, with no place that truly belonged to her. The surname she carried was at once an inheritance and a sentence, recognized in any room but with no country to call home. She developed anorexia, then chemical dependency. Farah sought help without rest. She accompanied her to doctors, clinics, therapists. June 10, 2001. Layla is found dead in her hotel room in London. She is 31 years old. Ali Reza, the third child, born in 1966, was a brilliant man. He studied Iranian history at MIT. He spoke 6 languages. He researched ancient Persian mythology with a passion that moved everyone who heard him. But he carried the same invisible weight: exile, the lack of roots, the impossibility of going home. The depressions grew more frequent, more profound. January 4th, 2011. Ali Reza takes his own life in his apartment in Boston, on the very day he was expecting the birth of his first daughter. On the day a new life was arriving in the world, he chose to leave it. He is 44 years old, 2 children, 2 deaths, in 10 years. Not from common illness, not from accidents, from a wound that exile opened from the inside and that never healed. Farah would say in an interview after Ali Reza's death, "Sometimes I feel as though I am 200 years old." There is a kind of tragedy history knows well, the powerful who falls, dies, disappears. There is another kind, rarer, crueler, of those who survive their own fall and remain standing to watch every piece of the world they loved disappear one by one. Farah Pahlavi lost the throne, lost the country, lost her husband, lost 2 children. She watched the works of art she collected with her own hands remain locked in a basement in Tehran for 46 years. The regime cannot use them, and she cannot reclaim them. But something is happening now that no screenwriter would dare invent. The regime that expelled her, built by Khomeini, consolidated by Khamenei, is now crumbling. Khamenei, the man who kept it alive for decades, died in March 2026. The regime that took everything from her is at the center of a war that may destroy it. And the son she gave the Shah as his heir, Reza Pahlavi, now 64, is more present than at any moment since 1979, speaking with Western leaders, discussed as a central voice in a possible Iranian transition. The woman who lost everything may yet see the regime that destroyed her disappear. The mother who outlived her children may yet see the son who remained play a role in the Iran the others never got to know. The Iranian women marching in the streets today with their hair loose, chanting, "Woman, life, freedom," are fighting for exactly the right that Farah had helped guarantee and the revolution had stolen. In the time of the revolution, a significant part of the population genuinely wanted Khomeini. It was not a coup imposed on a happy people. But 46 years later, the answer arrived. Surveys of 30,000 Iranians inside the country, answered anonymously through VPN because no Iranian can say what they think out loud, show that 70% reject the Islamic Republic. And 73% agree with the slogan echoing in the streets. Our enemy is right here. They lie when they say it's America. The regime that liberated Iran from the Shah became more oppressive than he ever was. And when everyone abandoned the Shah, she stayed. When exile took her husband, she stayed. When it took her children, she stayed. She was right about everything. She paid the price of those who were not heard in time. And she is still here. In April 2026, when this video was produced, Farah, the last Empress of Iran, lives in Paris and is 86 years old, still waiting to go home.
If this story moved you, remember, you only saw half of it.
Farah's exile began the night the Shah boarded a plane believing he would return. What drove him to that plane? What did he build? What did he destroy? And why did the most powerful man in the Middle East end up dying alone in a borrowed bed in Cairo? That story, the one that made this one possible, is waiting for you. The Last Shah of Iran. The link is on your screen now and in the first pinned comment. Thank you for staying until the end. If these stories mean something to you, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. See you in the next one.